Hello, my name's Elizabeth Mayer, and I am the teen librarian at the Rising Sun Branch Library in Cecil County, Maryland. Now, back in 2019, I conducted a fairly large survey of the teens in our community, and I just wanted to share my findings with you. Okay, so I conducted the survey for my master's back in 2019, where I surveyed over 700 students, which is really exciting. However, I had a few learning objectives while I was conducting my surveys. So my first learning objective was to evaluate marketing and library communications directed towards teens. My second objective was to identify strategies for how the library can connect with disengaged teens. And then my third objective was to evaluate library programming for teens and to figure out what's appealing for that age group. And then my last objective was to determine the information needs of teens within my community. Okay, so the primary questions that I asked throughout my surveys was, do you go to the public library? And I found that 45% of teens surveyed do not go to the public library, while 55% do go to the public library. I also found that teens didn't really know what the public library was. They often thought it was their media center, so they kind of associated those two things together. So then I asked for the students who didn't go to the public library, well, why not? A lot of them said that they didn't have the time to go. They weren't a reader. They didn't have a ride. They utilized online resources. They didn't have a reason to go. They purchased their own books. They utilized their media center, or their parents were a factor. And then I also asked the students who do go to the public library, well, why do you go to the public library? The vast majority said that they go to the public library to check out books. So that was 40.7% of the teens surveyed. And then they also said that they go to the library to do homework, to use the computers, to attend programs, and to hang out with friends. And then they were given the option to write in some of their responses. So this is some of the responses we received. One student said, I really don't know what the resources are there. Another student said that it seems like the events are more for kids younger than me. And then we had a Cecil County public school student say that they don't have a library card, which I found very interesting because we offer this really great service where every student in the Cecil County public school system has a student virtual library card. So they do have a library card, it's just the student doesn't know that they have a library card. And then our last response was, I don't go anymore because I'm older and either don't have the time or they already have the books at home. So then I asked, well, how would you like to hear about library programs? And the vast majority said that they want to know about they want to hear about library programs from their school. They also said that they wanted to hear about programs from their parents or guardian or social media. We also had a written-in response that said that I would like to see the social media get better. It needs to be better. And then I did this really great interactive in-person survey where I created a poster board, several poster boards with all of our flyers, trying to really figure out what flyers were appealing to them. So while I was in the schools, in the cafeteria or in the media center, I would have interactions with teens and we'd just have casual conversations about the flyers, and then I would give them a sticker, and the teens were so excited to have a sticker, and they would put a sticker on which poster or which flyer was most appealing, and they would most likely attend that event solely based off of the flyer. So you'll see here that our Bloxels program did really well, our teen nights did really well, and I asked them, well, why were you drawn to those particular events? A lot of them said that, especially the Teen Spooktacular one, they liked it because it was festive and relevant, or because it was eye-catching. So then I asked, what programs do teens want to see? 55.1% of teens said that they wanted to attend escape rooms. 42% said that they were interested in gaming events like Bloxels and Minecraft, and 39.1% said that they were interested in art programs. We also saw that teens wanted DIY events and more teen nights. It is worth noting that while being surveyed, teens were allowed to select more than one option, so they could have picked escape rooms and gaming and DIY, so that's why those numbers are quite large. So, things to consider when developing programming. I also did a lot of research under this category too, that programs should be driven by teens' passions and interests in each community and strongly connected to learning and skills for personal work and academic interests. Programs should be co-created and co-led by library staff, content experts, and peers. So here's another really great response that we received from a teen that said, I would like to see a program for connecting with other teens and people in the community to connect with others. I think that's such a great response. Okay, so then I asked teens to provide feedback for programs that we've offered before. One student said that they liked our Block Souls event because they like video games and they like meeting other people who like video games as well. Another teen was drawn to our Teen Night event because it seems like a good time and it would be a fun time. And then another teen was drawn to the Teen Self-Defense program because it's something that teens should know how to do, especially in the world we live in today. And then the last response was this teen was drawn to Teens Give Back because it seems as though it would help students thrive and grow. And then I tried to determine what the information needs of our teens were in our library system. So I did a general survey of our staff in our branches and tried to really figure out what teens were asking at the reference desk. And they were pretty much the same across the board. So they were interested in a particular book or item that they were looking for. They asked to utilize our phones or to provide directions. They needed help with technology, whether it be in the library or their own personal devices. And then they were also seeking information about our student virtual library card. So how are we surveying teens and engaging teens now? While I conducted this survey in 2019, it was in person. We used Google Forms to conduct the surveys. So I was in all of the schools and facilitating all of the surveys, but I also sent out the link to all of the media centers or media specialists and schools so they had a copy of it so they could give it out during class as well. So that was all in person. So how are we doing it in a virtual platform? So we are really utilizing our teen advisory group. So we are surveying them, constantly asking them what they would like to see, what they would like to do in the library system. So we actually, our first meeting was in January, and they provided these really great reading recommendations that we posted on social media. So here's the poster below. And then we also used a Jamboard, which was really, really cool. And teens provided responses of what programs they would like to see in the library. And we're actually going to have them pick one of these ideas and actually see it through. So they're going to plan for it, they're going to market it, and it's just going to be really, really great. But these were some of their ideas that they had. And then we also asked what makes them pick up a book. Like, is it the cover? Is it the description? What draws them to that particular book? So it's very interesting that the majority of them said that the description on the jacket was the factor in why they would pick up a book. And then how do they hear about new books? Do they learn about new books on Book Talk, browsing a bookstore? And a lot of them said that they heard about new books through friends and family from the library. Some said Book Talk, some said YouTube and browsing the internet. So it's all very interesting information to figure out how they're hearing about new books and how they're utilizing social media too. All right, well, that concludes my presentation for today. So if you have any questions about any of my surveys, how I conducted my surveys, because I kind of gave you the overview of it, and you want more information about that, feel free to contact me directly. My email's down there, my phone number is there as well, and if you'd like to check out some of the other programs that we're offering within my library system, our website is below as well. Well, Thank you for your time. Have a great day.